Friends, already I discussed about the concept of integrated water resource management. That is, it is required for both horizontal and vertical integration. Horizontal integration of different sectors and vertical integration for management from, that is, stakeholders to the government. Today we will discuss about the principles of the water resource management. The foundation for the IWRM was laid at the International Conference on Water and Environment held in Dublin during 1992 and in, in the United Nations Conference on Environment and Development on Earth Summit held at Rio de Janeiro at later. The concept rose to prominence in global water policy at the time of Second World Water Forum in March 2000. So actually the IWRM concept got a prominence in the Second World Water Forum in March 2000. A meeting in Dublin in 1992 gave rise to four principles that have been the basis for much of the subsequent water sector reform. The four principles which were formulated in the Dublin are the basis for IWRM. What are these four principles? Principle 1. Fresh water is a finite and vulnerable resource essential to sustain life, development and the environment. We know water is a finite resource. We cannot create or destroy the amounts of water which is available at present. That means it is in a finite volume. The notion that fresh water is a finite resource arises as the hydrological cycle on average yields a fixed quantity of water per time period. Whatever the quantity is cycled in the hydrological cycle is of a fixed or a finite quantity, and that is the finite yield which we get from this hydrological cycle. This overall quantity cannot yet be altered significantly by human actions, though it can be and frequently is depleted by man-made pollution. So we cannot add extra quantity to this yield which is available in the hydrological cycle, but definitely we are depleting the freshwater quantity by manipulating the quality. The freshwater resource is a natural asset that need to be maintained to ensure that the desired service it provides are sustained. This principle recognizes that water is required for many different purposes, functions and services. Management therefore has to be holistic and involve consideration of the demands placed on the resource and the threats to it. So the management approach has to consider the different purposes of the water, and the management has to be holistic, involving the consideration of the demands placed on the finite resource. The integrated approach to management of water resource necessitates coordination of a range of human activities which create the demand for water, determine land uses and generate waterborne waste products. So the integrated water management has to look into the man-made activities which create the demand for water for different purposes of use and determine the land uses. So what kind of land it is to be used is determined on the activity of the human, and also generate waterborne waste products. So we are creating lot of waste, waterborne waste, because of our activities. The principle also recognizes the catchment area or river basin as the local unit for water resource management. So area bounded by a basin catchment is considered as a logical unit for water resource management. Principle 2. Water development and management should be based on a participatory approach involving users, planners, and policymakers at all levels. Water is subject in which everyone is a stakeholder. So, the second principle emphasizes on the development and management, which has to be based on a participatory approach, which involves the users, planners, policymakers at all levels. Real participation only takes place when stakeholders are part of the decision making process. So, the stakeholders or the users are to be considered in decision making process if the management is to be successful. The type of participation will depend upon the spatial scale relevant to particular water management and investment decisions. It will be affected too by the nature of political environment in which such decisions take place. A participatory approach is the best means for achieving long-lasting consensus and common agreement. Participation is about taking responsibility, recognizing the effect of sectoral actions on other water users and aquatic ecosystems, and accepting the need for change to improve the efficiency of water use and allow the sustainable development of the resource. So, participation of the stakeholders emphasizes on the responsibility, recognizing the effect of sectorial actions on other water users. So, one sector of the use of water has definitely an impact on the other sector. So, it is the responsibility of the IWRM to recognize these effects, and also on the aquatic ecosystems, and accepting the need for change to improve the efficiency of water use and allow the sustainable development to the resource. Also, we have to consider the sustainable development keeping in view the aquatic ecosystems and its preservance. Participation does not always achieve consensus. Arbitration processes or other conflict resolution mechanisms also need to be put in place. It is very difficult to have a consensus between the different users the stakeholders of different interests. Then we have to adopt the processes like arbitration and conflict resolution mechanisms in IWRM. Governments have to help create the opportunity and capacity to participate, particularly among women and other marginalized social groups. So, it is the responsibility of the government to encourage and to promote the opportunities for participation of the women as well as the marginalized social groups. It has to be recognized that simply creating participatory opportunities will do nothing for currently disadvantaged groups unless their capacity to participate is enhanced. Decentralizing decision making to the lowest appropriate level is one strategy for increasing participation. So, the IWRM also insists on decentralizing the decisions which are to be taken at the lowest appropriate level rather than at the top. Principle number 3. Women play a central part in the provision, management and safeguarding of water. The pivotal role of women as providers and users of water and guardians of the living environment has seldom been reflected in institutional arrangements for the development and management of water resources. So far, the practice which we have adopted for the water management and the institutional arrangements have not considered the role of women in the water management, as woman is the guardian of the living environment. This has been neglected. It is widely acknowledged that women play a key role in the collection and safeguarding of water for domestic and many cases agriculture use, but that they have much less influential role than the men in management, problem analysis and the decision making processes related to water resources. Even though women play an important role in the collection and safeguarding of water, the, that role has not been so far considered in the management, problem analysis and decision making processes because it is dominated by the men only. So principle number 3 emphasizes on the women's role in the management. IWRM requires gender awareness in developing the full and effective participation of women at all levels of decision making. There is an important synergy between gender equity and sustainable water management, involving men and women in influential roles at all levels of water management can speed up the achievement of sustainability and managing water in an integrated and sustainable way. If both men and women together participate in the water management, participatory water management, then only we can have a better integrated and sustainable way of water management. Principle number 4. Water has an economic value in all its competing uses and should be recognized as an economic good as well as social good. Since water is required for the very existence of a life, it has to be viewed as a social good also, as well as it is to be used as economic good based on its different purpose of uses. Within this principle, it is vital to recognize first the basic right of all human beings to have access to clean water and sanitation and at an affordable price. So as a social good, it is vital to recognize the basic right of all the human beings to have access to clean and water sanitation of the very existence of life, and it has to be at an affordable price. Managing water as an economic good is an important way of achieving social objectives such as efficient and equitable use and of encouraging conservation and protection of water resources. So we have to price the water resource, considering it as economic good, to have an efficient, equitable use and to encourage the conservation and protection of water resources. As long as it is available at a cheaper rates, we are in the habit of wasting the water. So if it is priced as an economic good, then definitely we'll have an encouragement for conserving and protection of water resources. Water has a value as an economic good as well as a social good. Many past failures in water resource management are attributable to the fact that the full value of water has not been recognized. Value and charges are two different things and we have to distinguish clearly between them. So value and charges have a different meaning with a different context. The value of water in alternative uses is important for the rational allocation of water as a scarce resource, whether by regulatory or economic means. So when we have got some commodity is scarce, then we have to prioritize the values of the use of that commodity. In the case of water, water is required for the very existence of life. So its value for this particular use will be the highest order. Then comes the different uses. Charging or not charging for water is applying an economic instrument to support consumers' willingness to pay for the additional investment in water services. Apart from this part, the purpose of the very existence of life, water is used for other purposes also. When it is when the other purposes are being served, that needs lot of investments. So it is the users who have to pay for the services they are being enjoyed. So charging has to be viewed in this term. In this way or in this view, treating water as an economic good is an important means for decision making on the allocation of water between different water sectors and between different users within a sector. This is particularly important when extending supply is no longer feasible option. Earth Summit emphasized the importance of getting water managers to take a more holistic approach to the resource and of bringing actors from different sectors into water decision making process. There was more to integration than encouraging users to work together. Both on the Dublin principles and other more recent developments, 8 principles of IWM RM were identified. Principles are water source and catchment conservation and protection are essential. Water allocation should be agreed to between stakeholders within a national framework. So water allocation for different purposes is to be agreed by the stakeholders within a national framework. Management needs to be taken care of at the lowest appropriate level. So management has to be taken care at the stakeholder level, that is the bottom up approach. Capacity building is the key to sustainability. So we have to build the capacities of the existing institutions for better management, and this is the key for the sustainability. Involvement of all stakeholders is required. Efficient water use is essential and often an important source in itself. So we have to use the water most efficiently because already we are under water stress condition. We are feeling the water resource as a scarce commodity, so it has to be used very efficiently. Water should be treated as having an economic and social value. Striking a gender balance is essential. Recognizing the interrelated nature of different sources of water and thus also the interrelated nature and impacts of differing water uses is a major step in the introduction of IWRM. So IWRM recognizes the interrelated nature of different sources of water and interrelated nature and impacts of differing water uses. The following are the sum of the impacts of the different uses of water. When it is used for the environmental protection purpose, then we don't have negative impacts. The positive impacts are purification, storage, hydraulic cycle, hydrological cycle. Then when it is used for agriculture purpose and water supply and sanitation purpose, we do have both positive and negative impacts. When it is used for agriculture purpose, the positive impacts are return flows, increased infiltration, decreased erosion, groundwater recharge, and nutrient recycle. So because of the application of water for agriculture on the land, we have some return flows which in turn increases the infiltration as well as acts as a groundwater recharge. At the same time, we will have decreased erosion because of the vegetation cover due to agriculture. Then there will be nutrient recycle also. The negative impacts because of the use of water for agriculture purpose, we may deplete the groundwater when it is overdrawn. Then there will be pollution due to application of fertilizers, chemical fertilizers, which will be carried through return flow to the surface as well as the groundwater resource of the water. Then salinization and water logging may happen due to the practices of agricultural practices, and sometimes the surface flow may erode some part of the soil also. Water supply and sanitation purpose, when it is used, we have a positive impact that nutrients are recycled. Then high level of the negative impacts are high level of water security required, then surface and groundwater pollution. In this context, the key words in IWRM remain water resource management. Integration is simply the shorthand chosen to describe the kind of management that the approach entails, an approach that could just as accurately be described as holistic and or systematic. Better water management not only impacts the water sector but can also further economic growth, poverty reduction, and environmental sustainability. So the better management impacts not only impacts the water sector but it will be having an impact on the economic growth. There will be a poverty reduction and environmental sustainability. However, optimizing economic growth, social equity, and environmental sustainability implies that there will be compromises and trade-offs. But when you want to have achieve all these goals of optimizing economic growth, social equity, and environmental sustainability, sometimes some contradicting opinions may arise that implies that we need to have some instruments to compromise and some trade-offs are to be carried out to have a optimized water management. Managing water effectively requires the sustained collective effort and engagement of people in all sectors of society if it is to be successful in achieving the society's goal. It needs robust, competent, and trusted institutions as well as economically, socially, and environmentally sound investment in infrastructure. So, IWRM needs the engagement of people in all sectors of society for its successful and achieving society's goal. Thank you.